Welcome to the HardHat Workforce Solutions Employee Safety and Health Orientation. HardHat Workforce Solutions is committed to providing you with a safe and healthy work environment. If you stop a task or a task of another employee because of a safety issue, we will back you up. It's up to you to advocate for your safety and the safety of others on a job site. If you notice something isn't right, be sure to speak up. Here are some statistics you need to know about injuries that have occurred at HardHat. Falls have made up about 50% of injuries here at HardHat, and most involve a ladder. Strains and sprains make up nearly 30% of all HardHat injuries. In 2019, 57% of injuries occurred to employees in their first 3 months. 8 out of 10 injuries occur on a Monday or a Tuesday. And more than half of all injuries occur in the morning. Specialized safety training is required for certain tasks and equipment. Contact HardHat immediately if you need such training. In the event of an injury on a job site, it is your responsibility to not only notify your supervision on site, but also a HardHat representative immediately, no matter how big or small the injury. Every job site should have at least one person trained in first aid, along with first aid kits readily available. Make sure you know where all fire extinguishers are on a job site, and please observe the no smoking areas. In the event of a fire, your primary objective is to evacuate. When starting a new job assignment, make sure that you've learned of the job site's specific emergency action and evacuation plan before beginning work. If you are instructed to be using any sort of chemicals or solvents on a job site, be sure that you understand the site's hazard communication program and how to stay safe from such chemicals and solvents. These are some general safety rules we have here at HardHat. Horseplay or reckless actions of any type will not be tolerated. Driving any customer or company vehicle is not permitted without prior approval from a HardHat management representative. Practice good housekeeping habits. Clean up as you work throughout the day. No running. Watch for trip and slip hazards. Do not enter into or participate in any trenching or excavation on a job site until you've been properly trained to identify the hazards associated with these tasks. On the left, you will see the correct safety procedures for a trenching or excavation. On the right, there is no such safety precaution being taken. It's HardHat's policy for our workers not to use scaffolding unless they've been properly trained. If you are asked to use scaffolding and have not been given approval by your HardHat supervisor, please call them and let them know. Always follow ladder and fall protection procedures to prevent falls. Improvising causes accidents. HardHat requires you to wear fall protection anytime you're working at 6 feet or greater. Please make sure you understand the fall protection guidelines and procedures on any given job. Guardrails are another method of fall protection. This image here shows one set up correctly with the right heights for the top, mid-rail, and then a toe board down at the bottom. Personal fall arrest systems are another form of fall protection. They entail a full body harness, a lanyard, and an anchor point. Reach out to your HardHat representative if you're ever required to have these on a job. Any opening or hole in a floor should have a proper covering. Always be cautious, as some jobs will have a hole covered but not with the correct material and could still allow for someone to fall through. Ladder injuries are very common, so make sure to follow these steps to help keep yourself safe when using them. Inspect the ladder for damage before each use. At least one hand must always be in contact with the ladder when climbing and descending. It's called 3 points of contact. Do not carry heavy or bulky items when climbing a ladder. Always use step ladders in the open position. Always face the ladder. Do not overreach, and never stand higher than the second to last step of the ladder. Some extension ladder safety tips are: use the ladders on stable and level surfaces, extend the extension at least 3 feet beyond the landing and secure the ladder at the top. Secure the base when possible. Grasp the rungs when climbing, not the side rails. Set up the extension ladder at the proper angle. Set the base out 1 foot for each 4 feet of ladder height. And do not use aluminum ladders with electric power tools or when doing electrical work. Avoid twisting or overreaching from a ladder while working. Also avoid carrying any large loads, equipment, or tools up a ladder. Have a spotter, a rope, and a bucket to haul your materials, tools, or equipment to the top. Here are some material handling tips to help avoid strains or sprains. Avoid lifting by using a hand truck or other equipment to move materials when possible. Never carry large or bulky items up or down stairways, and keep at least one hand free to grasp the handrail on stairways. Plan your lift. Are items in the way? Will it block your view? Will I have to open a door? Where will I set it down? Size up the load. If it seems too heavy or large, ask for help. Bend at the knees, not the waist. Never lift and twist at the same time. Use 2 or more people as needed. It is a strict HardHat policy to not do any hot electrical work. If we find out you're doing such work on a job, this can and will result in disciplinary action. Make sure to inspect drop cords prior to use. Also be sure to check your environment for any conditions that could damage the drop cord, leading to an electrical hazard. We all know electricity and water do not mix, so exercise caution if you're around a wet environment to avoid any electrical hazard. Always be on the lookout for overhead power lines when working from ladders or lifts. You should also make sure you're using the proper GFCI protected outlets when using any plug-in tools on a job site. If you are asked to work on a potentially live circuit, be sure you've locked out and tagged out the circuit at the panel and then tested to confirm the circuit has indeed been de-energized. Never work on energized equipment, especially without the proper FR-rated PPE. Serious injury or death could occur. Always wear your A4 rated cut gloves supplied by HardHat, especially when you're working with any type of blade or sharp material. It is a HardHat policy that you must wear a hard hat, safety glasses, high-vis vest or shirt, A4 rated cut gloves, steel toe or composite toed boots, and long pants when you're working on a job. Hearing protection or N95 respirators are site specific depending on the exposure. Power tools can cause serious injury when not used correctly. Make sure you understand how to use each type of power tool before operating. Make sure you understand these other precautions to take when using any type of power tool. Make sure you understand all the precautions associated with any hand tools you may use. Inspect the tools for damage before each use, and always use the correct tool for the job. Remember the HardHat Focus 5. These are the 5 most common causes of injuries here at HardHat. They are falls and ladder injuries, strains and sprains, electrical injuries, cuts, and handed power tools. Now let's review some of the hazards that we discussed in this orientation. What hazards do you see in these pictures? The man on the left is standing on the last step before the top of the ladder, making it far less stable than if it was the second to last. The 2 gentlemen in the center are both standing on the same ladder, most likely overloading the weight limit. It's also an A-frame ladder, closed, leaning up against the building, like an extension ladder would be used, and the 2 of them are also overreaching. therefore making it far likely that the ladder will slip out from underneath them. The gentleman on the far right is standing on the railing of a scissor lift. Not only that, but he's also wearing a harness without any lanyard or yo-yo attached, keeping him safe if he were to fall. What strain hazards can you see in these images? The two men on the left are moving materials that are most likely greater than 50 pounds apiece, which would mean either the two of them have to assist each other moving one at a time, or a piece of equipment needs to be used to move them. The man on the right is in a position showing he's using his back to lift instead of his legs. What electrical hazards do you see in these pictures? The left image shows a panel without its cover. This exposes energized lugs and other components of the panel, creating a shock hazard. There's also a wire coming in the bottom without the proper connector. The middle image shows a splice that has not been made in the correct listed junction box. The right image shows a boom lift being used very close to some live electrical wires. What cut hazards do you see in these pictures? The left image shows a worker using a box cutter to trim the outer jacket of insulation off of a wire. They are not wearing cut-resistant gloves, and they are cutting towards themselves. The middle and right image shows workers using sharp metallic materials without cut-resistant gloves. What hazards do you see in these pictures? The left image shows someone using a grinder without the proper guard. The middle image shows someone using a crescent wrench as a hammer. They're also trying to hammer in a screw. The right image shows a sledgehammer with a damaged handle. If you are interested in getting your OSHA 10 certification, HardHat employees are offered a free OSHA 10 class, and if it's completed within 2 weeks of being issued your access information for that class, you will receive a $50 bonus for completing it. The most important thing to remember is they expect you to come home safely. So do we.